everyone. Welcome back to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm LaWanda.
Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are here to talk about The Chi. This is season 4, episode 7, titled The Black Messiah. So if you guys hang tight, we'll be right back with you.
Baby, I know where the last one burned you. Know that ain't cool. Wanna show you how I'm nothing like him. Swear that's the truth. So you can't trust that
All right, everyone, we are back. After that little hiatus they took for the 4th of July holiday, had us anxious about what was going to happen next. I was thinking that they were going to film next week, and to my surprise, they had taken a week off. So I'm glad to be back recapping, learning all about what's going down with The Chi this week. How did you guys feel about the episode? To just the general gist of it, I really enjoyed it.
Well, I think they left all the fireworks on the 4th. This was, to me, a little cleanup in the sense of, family and community orientation, which I enjoyed. I mean, I did like to see that. I like to see that. And honestly, I think we in reality need to do a lot of that ourselves. So I really did enjoy that. I enjoyed Keisha, with her newborn. I thought that was, pretty good. I do have some concern, and I think Nina brought it up, when that baby starts looking like his daddy, and not just as much looking like the father, but if he starts acting a certain kind of way, love really doesn't conquer all. And it'll be questionable how that works out.
Well, I mean, asking who is my daddy? Where is my daddy? That's gonna be a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, we already seen she's having like the nightmares and stuff, so it's still very fresh for her, and she still is very easily triggered. So I know that she cares for that baby, but I don't know, it might have been too soon. But at the same time, letting Octavia get attached to that baby any more than she already has, that could have been a big hurdle that they might not have been able to overcome. So the fact that Octavia was willing to, give the baby back, I figured she would do that. She's just like a really stand-up person.
Class act. Yeah.
And speaking of that class act, that classy clapback that Tabitha Brown gave last week was trending all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And I was here for it because I was like, that was a miserable response that Wendy gave to Tabitha.
But not just to Tabitha. But not just to Tabitha. Wendy really put a stamp on all Black men.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. I mean, that was terrible because I'm just like, just because your man was raggedy,
Exactly.
does not mean everybody else man is raggedy.
Just because you tolerated it for as long as you did.
Thank you.
Your
you
man
tolerated that mess.
That don't mean everybody else man is raggedy.
Right. Exactly. That's what got me.
Because she showed her, the classiest clapback I might have ever seen in my life.
Man,
I really appreciate that from Tabitha, and I wouldn't have her do it any other way, but I was sure hoping that she would throw a spike or two up in there,
No, she did it just right.
I know, I'm saying,
She did it just right.
Like, I'm saying, she did it right, no question, but I would have loved to have her say, don't put a black mark on all Black men, just because your Black man screwed up.
Right.
It was a very different response,
It was very, I appreciate that. I'm gonna have that on a continuous loop.
No, it was as classy as you can get. And I'm sure, she couldn't have put it any better. But I'm still trying to figure out Wendy in that comment though. I mean, you put up with that.
Miserable company, because she was like, basically, I saw her clip and she was basically reflecting on her own personal stuff and saying that, her ex-husband became an opportunist and then you're funding his business ventures, and if it fails and stuff, I'm like, that's you.
Right.
That's you.
Because there wasn't a situation. Theirs was one of mutual support. I help you. We're a team. And I think that's the part that she missed. So,
and not the fact that the guy's a police officer, and like she said, he's been an officer for 15 years, holding it down while she was pursuing her career, in which he had, every hope and dream for. And now that she made it, she said, hey, you can put that gun down now and, and live your life and dreams. What better partnership can you have? And, I would have hoped that Wendy would have come back with an apology or something.
Yeah, listen, she's not used to no healthy relationship, so she had nothing positive to add.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent with the Wendy and Tabitha thing, but that was an honorable mention. We had to bring that up.
Yeah.
Because Tabitha got her all the way together.
All the way.
Gotcha.
Gathered her quite nicely.
Yes, she did. And so back on the subject of Keisha, because she seems very concerned about people's perception of her too, now that she has her baby back. And I'm glad that Tiff was there to reassure her, I had a baby at the same age, it's going to be rough, but you will overcome it. And so the whole tribe of ladies, we seen them gather around her again this week, letting Keisha know that she would be supported, not necessarily for them to be a crutch for her, but she would definitely have their support. So I thought that was great.
I did too. Community, and I felt like this whole episode was really built around community. I mean, even the stuff, the food, and getting the housing for those girls, and the way they're supporting Keisha and everything, community.
Yeah, and from the second I heard Jada talking about how she named Emmett and how naming a child after someone was to carry on their legacy, I was like, oh, she's gonna name that baby Ronnie.
Yeah.
It was. No, I mean, hey.
Yeah, that was cute.
I
you have another namesake. It's live again.
Hey, a newborn too, so we can go all the way with this.
I thought about Ron too. I was like, oh, Ron is gonna be in his bag now. Name that baby after him.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm real good with it. I think that's a wonderful name. That's all I can say. It's a wonderful name.
Yeah, it was very cute. Now, on the subject of Jada, so she finally had the conversation with Nina. I didn't think that Nina was gonna come out and come clean this episode to either Jada or Dre.
But let me ask.
It turns out she came clean to both.
Okay, but let me ask. Did she really have? I know what y'all say about honesty and all that stuff, and I know it means a lot in a lot of circles, but that'd have been something I would have just kept close to my heart.
I think I'm with you, Ron. I think she might have needed to keep it on mute. I mean, but she was acting so stank though. Like Nina was getting on my nerves. Like she got to get the hands this week. Like I was like, cause she was like at everybody's throat. The stuff, the way she talked to Kevin, Keisha and Dre and stuff. So it was, that guilt was eating her alive, and she was like projecting on everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah,
and if she had kept going, she would have sabotaged her whole household.
Well, yeah, if she hadn't already. And I think that, telling the truth, but, it has its place. But you really put hurt on, I felt really bad for Drake because you really, really put some hurt on her that she didn't deserve. Now, I'm not saying that Nina handled it the right way. She should have, the first thing she did was when she thought her mate was fooling around with Jada, the first thing she does is says, well, I'm gonna get back and go out and do the same thing. She should have thought about it. But the fact that it happened the way it did, I mean, there's still some solace there for her. She should have just, sucked it up, said, hey, I made a mistake. That was the wrong thing to do, but I'm just going to keep this close to my heart and have to swallow this thing because now you hurt Dre, who didn't need to be hurt.
You know what, Ron, I agree with you because I think we've talked about this before that, like, okay, so she's really just trying to appease herself and get rid of her guilt. And it's like, it's kind of no reason, you need to work that out. There's no reason to hurt Dre.
Right.
But if you're going to tell her, we've talked about this before, I think you need to lead with, I thought
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
you
The
were
context.
because
Right.
you were kicking around in this, and I saw you.
Right.
If you lead with that, then maybe it softens the blow. But
Right.
I cheated.
Right.
Like I was like,
I'm the only
somebody
oddball out.
with
Right.
these conversations.
There's no other way to
Like,
say there's no other way to say I cheat.
No, but you can preface it. We talked about this with Emmett and Tiff, that you say this happened before we got married.
Right.
You know, it's a way that you can kind of provide information that
context
to kind of soften the blow context that
Amen.
maybe
Amen.
it's still gonna hurt, but maybe she can understand why you did it, because in her mind she knew that she shouldn't have been keeping secrets from you too. So maybe she would understand it more.
Exactly.
I guess I'm the only oddball out here that I'm glad Nina said something, because as you can see, everybody on this show is interconnected somehow. The shot is not a big place. And so everybody knows everybody. And I'm not, I'm confident that in the LGBTQ circle is even smaller. And so the chances of Dre running into the chick that she cheated with,
I think she are extremely
high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would rather my spouse hear it from me than on the street.
Yeah, but again, it's just like LaWanda and Tiffany were saying, it's all about context. I mean, if you're going to tell the story, you got to tell the story you got to frame it in such a way that all onus isn't on you. If I just say to you, I cheated, your mind goes like 1,000 different places. And from that point on, you can't hear anything else I say except that one phrase, I cheated. That's all you're going to hear. You're not going to hear the reasons why. You're not going to hear that I made a mistake and I did something foolish, in the heat of the moment. You're not going to want to hear all that. Now, if I can somehow tie that in to my I cheated before I say I cheated, you might be able to, live with that a little bit as we discuss it, because, that's what it really is all about. And if you can't figure out how to do that, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, because that's all I'm saying. A conversation. It becomes a conversation at this point. Like it becomes more of a conversation about trust. It becomes more of a conversation about communication and telling the truth. It's gonna hurt, but at least I don't know. It's like you have to prime people when you tell them things that are very difficult like that.
But who's going to be the intermediary is Jada. And Jada and Dre are going to continue to spend time together with her, helping her through, her situation. Dre is going to be back over there, and Jada's going to get in Dre's ear. She already got into Nina's ear. Jada's the one that put that battery in Nina's back that said, Dre doesn't run away from things easily, so she can take it. And so that's why I feel like Nina had the confidence to come out. But Jada, now that she's in the middle of this, I feel like she's gonna help Dre come around and see, like, y'all love each other. It was a mistake. It wasn't what it seemed that, between us, but imagine how it looked from the other side.
And Jada,
not to say that makes it better. It doesn't make it right or okay or any better, but I think it'll help Dre to reason and to make her decision as to where she's going to go next.
I mean, that's a possibility. And I think Jada kind of owes that to her as well, because, Jada, I don't know. If I were Jada, I don't think I would have gone along with it. I would say, hey, look, why don't we just bring Nina in early? Right. Let's just get this all, regardless of what you thought Nina might do. And you know what? People are going to find out anyway. It's not something that your closest friend has a closest friend who has a closest friend. And they're going to tell their closest friend, and they're going to tell their closest friend. So by the time it's all said and done, 100 people know what you already was trying to suppress. Mm-hmm. So
even the physical, like her physical has changed. It was a matter of time before Nina could look at her and see something's up. Right. So it's like you might as well have come out and told her right after you told Emmett.
Right. Really.
Well, listen, when they came to the birth, Jada was there and she had the head wrap on. I mean, she did not really look well then. And I was wondering why a conversation didn't come up then, or perhaps Nina could have asked, like, are you feeling okay? I mean, at that point, Emmett knew. So there was no reason why it still should have been a secret at that point anyway. Yeah. And I feel like,
No, go ahead. No.
And I was gonna say what me and LaWanda was saying about telling is not that we were opposed to telling the truth. It's just that, like LaWanda said, framing it, not just blurting out, I cheated on you, because that's all the person is going here. Yeah. Give us some context.
The other thing that both of these things makes me think about is like when you're in relationship with people, what you really think about them and how you treat them. Because one, it's interesting to me that Jada, she calls Nina a friend, but it was almost like something that intimate she didn't feel like she could share with her. And that's kind of the thing that set them down this road. Oh, she talks too much, right?
Right.
So there's that. And then there's this thing with Nina, like, do you know Dre? Do you really think that Dre and Jada would do this to you? Because you got to think, she's the one that introduced you to her. So would they throw all of that out, their friendship out, and do that to you? So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation that they both have. Like, do you really think that we would do that to you? Is that who you think we are?
Exactly. I mean, like, is that who you think you are? And also, how well does she know Jada? Like, is Jada fluid, or is Jada like, has she ever given her any inkling that was her preference too? So I mean, I'm just like, why was there not a conversation, and why was there just like no benefit of the doubt given?
That's true. And I thought it was so funny how it really took a cheater to know a cheater. Emmett was like, I see you a mile away.
Really? That's true.
And she was in there trying to hush Emmett, like, shut up, don't talk right now.
The game knows game.
Like,
that's what it is. Game knows game. So, and Emmett's been all in it. So he knew what was going on. But,
exactly.
But for me, I'll deal with the consequences later.
Men always say,
no, it ain't about, no.
Men always say that.
No, it's not. It's not really. I mean, look, I don't care if a woman is gay or straight. There's just certain words and phrases that will send her to Never Never Land. I mean,
betrayal is betrayal.
Well, yes. Yeah, it is. But did not Dre, betray Nina and her and her sense? So there you go. And we just went that it's like a snowball going down. Though. It's a snowball going downhill. You start out with this little secret that you don't think can harm anybody else, and then that snowball just picks up more steam. And by the time it gets to the bottom, it's an avalanche coming at you. So, we tend to look at that one thing called cheating, but let's go back and say, what may have started that? I mean, because it wasn't in her character to be that way. We know that. So something caused it to happen. And could it have been avoided had they, from the very beginning, were truthful with Nina? So, Nina had a moment of, she blacked out. She just went crazy because she couldn't fathom her mate, Dre, with Jada. She couldn't fathom. And when she followed her, that was all she needed to see, because they were arm in arm. She didn't know what actually was going on. So,
but Jada was actually broken down crying. Like, if she had stuck around long enough to see, she looked like she was distraught.
It may have looked that way. It looks that way to us because we know what happened. But your heart is already melting because something is going on, and your mate's not telling you. So your heart's already broken because something's going on. I'm talking about from Nina's point of view. So she's already suspecting Dre for doing something. And then that's
when you pull up. That's when you pull up. Because there's no way that I would seen a man with my friend in that situation and I'm going to leave. I'm pulling up.
You got to confront it on the spot.
Yes. What's up?
Yeah, a lot of folk aren't confrontational.
Messages on your phone. What's this about?
Yeah, but a lot of people.
It's not calling you. It's getting the truth. Like,
you might be getting the truth.
You gonna see something like that, and you gonna go home. Like,
but you had already suspected that. So when you saw that, you just put a period at the end of that sentence. you didn't really need to go find out what was going on because you already suspected.
But there was nothing going on. That was only appearance.
But I'm saying, but appearance, hey, you know what they say in contract law, appearance is everything. You can appear to be doing
what you
wrong.
can prove. Come on, Lawanda, see the lawyer on the team.
Appearance.
We gotta be able to prove stuff.
Yeah, it's evidence of what you can prove, but it's
In the
also
court
you
of
can ask
law.
the question.
In the court of law, but in the court of hearts, you don't have to prove anything. If I suspect you're doing something and I get that close and I find that y'all are, as far as I'm concerned, that's proof enough. And I don't mean.
I agree with you, except for this. If I ask you the question and you lie, and I get that sense that you lying, then maybe I go there. But if I don't even ask the question, I mean, she didn't give her an opportunity to explain. She made an assumption. She made an assumption. So it's one thing when you say, I see the messages on your phone. I saw you over there.
Right.
That's a different conversation. And then if she says, I don't know what you're talking about, and your energy is saying, no, I feel like you lying, then okay, whatever happens, I agree, because you know somebody's lying to you. And then you can move on that energy and make your judgment and do whatever you do. But if you never ask the question, you never confront the person, you never talk to them about it, that's the issue I have.
Me too.
Excellent point.
Okay,
Me
so
too,
I see
and
what
that's
y'all.
all I'm saying.
Okay, I see what y'all doing. Y'all backing out from me. First, y'all have my back. Now y'all gonna back off. It's cool. I'm good.
No, for real. I'm just saying this. When I say confront, I don't necessarily mean it has to be a knockdown, drag down, fight, or whatever. I mean, get to the bottom of it. There's no way that I could see something like that and have the suspicion and walk up and then just leave. Like I need some clarity.
No, I agree with you, and I'm not saying that. And as I said, she made her mistake by leaving the scene, going to a bar, and with all that drama, and she gets picked up. That's going to happen. Has she gone home? Has she just gone home? She might have come to her senses, as well as asking the questions like Luana was saying. But instead, she goes to a bar and she gets picked up, and because she was hurting. So that's not an excuse for cheating, but it certainly is. You have to bring something to that to say that I can see why she did it. I
still can't see why she did it. They've been newlyweds for a year or less.
I think
and it didn't take much to coax her.
But T,
so I'm like,
but that's even more the point, because they're newlyweds. You wouldn't expect your newly wedded husband, friend, partner, whatever, to go out and do something like that. And that's where I think we all agree lines of communication is the most important thing.
That was the key thing.
Because
That was
when you break that down, anything can happen. And I think that's what we saw. No lines of communication, big breakdown. Now here we are. And so I don't want to blame that thing or blame this thing. I'm just saying communication has to be on point, and particularly in a marriage. I mean, you can't stay married and not have communication.
Right.
Yeah. They need to get it together.
Really?
Yeah, because if something else arises, is that going to be the first thing you do? You going to run out and cheat? Like, that can't be your default.
I mean, even with the Kevin situation, how they were talking to Kevin about, trying to get back into school and getting back on track. Like, they were butting heads then. Because Dre was like, I thought we were giving his freedom. And Nina's like, he abused his freedom. So they already butting heads on parenting too. And it's like, there's no unity in that house at all.
And I didn't like the way she said to Kevin, like, oh, you still mad because your little girlfriend left you for, I was like, wow, Mom, way to step on his feelings. I'm like, sheesh.
Yeah, it's almost like she was taunting him a little bit.
That's why I said she was on a rampage. I was like, her guilt was making her like, she was like a monster this week. I was like, oh yeah, Nina's getting the hands this week.
Yeah.
But again, I think that, that's what I was saying about that I was agreeing with Ron. So what's your purpose in telling the truth? Is it to mend the relationship? Is really because you feel guilty and you need to feel better. She's not concerned about how everybody else is gonna feel.
Right.
It's out my chest, I can sleep at night. Right. And that's different. That's the only reason why I say once she's gone there and she made this mistake, it's almost like I'm like, you got to sit down and think, what's going to be the outcome of me going and telling this truth?
Exactly.
Okay, I believe we ought to tell the truth, but I also think it's about timing.
Right.
I do. I think everything has a time, and I just, the way she did it, I think it was not great.
100%. I agree with that. I think, you know, it was selfish of her to want to, you know, get it off her back and not worry about somebody else's. And I think that's where, you know, the real truth is. You know, she was just being selfish. Hey, I got to get this monster off my back. And so it doesn't matter who I hurt. Yeah.
And now that you say that, LaWanda, like, it actually makes me look at that conversation that Nina and I was about to call her Yolanda, that's a real name. What's her name? Jada, sorry. Nina and Jada had that conversation. Now it's making me look at that conversation different, because Jada kind of reassured her that, she kind of let her know that there's a possibility that Dre will stay. And so she's like, oh, well, if Dre might stay, maybe I can get this off my conscience now. Even if I tell her she might stay. Like, she kind of had that sense of hope from Jada that, like, okay, maybe it won't be so bad if I just tell her I can get this off my chest and relieve myself.
Yeah, she gonna think she gonna sleep well at night. She gonna be sleeping alone. The way she did that. She gonna be by herself.
That's true.
That was not cool.
Yeah, at all. Now, going into the rest of the storyline for this week, Trig is waist deep in his community policing and everything. So they have gone over, relieved Nook of his duties, and pretty much rescued the girls, but with no plan for how to reintegrate them into normal life. I mean, those girls were literally locked in rooms. And so that's stuff that's not normal. There's a lot of psychological help that's going to be needed. And to just think you're going to stroll up in there and freedom, it's like when you have domestic, like, I'm not trying to compare anybody to like an animal, but when I say this, but when you have like domesticated pets or something like that, and you think that you can just release them back in the wild and they're going to be okay. Like, no, they have to get acclimated. These girls have been literally like caged. So I was like, Imani was all the way in La La Land when she thought that was just gonna go over smooth.
Well, I mean, it harkens back to slavery. You know, once we were actually given our freedom, you know, so many slaves didn't want to leave their plantation because that was the monster they knew. And I think that's what you saw in that you know, in that situation with the girls, because a lot of them were rather reluctant to, you know, in fact, they were almost a little angry with Trig and Imani for, you know, coming in there, busting up things, because it's what they knew, you know. And like you said, I agree. If you're going to go do something like that, have a plan so that you can let them know, hey, you're going to be here. We're going to feed you. We're going to, you know, help you. We're going to get all the help you need to get back into society, instead of, you know, Trig bringing her to the side saying, what are we going to do? And she's like, I don't know.
Right.
No, that's not the answer. You know, you wanted this, and now that you got it, you don't know.
Yeah, that was a big misstep on her behalf. And then just thinking that she could go in her closet and find some clothes to donate. I'm like, Imani, you a 00 girl.
Right.
Who are you giving these clothes to?
Right.
There are no preteens, 10-year-olds in the house.
Right. She wear newborn stuff, you know.
Yeah, you got to think about it, that these women have been traumatized, right? And to your point, Ron, been made kind of subservient and dependent on other people. Right. And so there's a lot of resources and services that they need. And it's going to go, and we're talking about this in the domestic violence, that of course the community can do it, but the community needs some structure. They need some organization, and they need a plan for dealing with these issues. It's not that we can't do it, but we have to have the infrastructure in place to do it. And I think that's the whole thing, even with those women, but the community as a whole has been crippled in such a way that we're not self-sufficient, that we don't know how to not gonna say we don't know how to take care of ourselves, but a lot of the institutions and organizations that we had in place that we used before, like desegregation that we had and could take care of ourselves, is not there anymore. It doesn't mean we can't get there. It just means that we're not there now.
And also
And
the
I think
access to information, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but I'm glad they're putting this on there, because that's a conversation that we need to be having. Like, if we really want to be in a situation where you defund the police, what do we put in place that is protective? It doesn't have to look just like that. It can be in the way that we want it, but we do have to have some kind of thought behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Duda comes in, because he has the financial capabilities to start putting things in place, because it's going to take money. You know, when Trig came back, he didn't express himself clearly enough to do that. But basically what he was saying is, I can't do this by myself, this street policing. I can't. And he cannot. I mean, look what happened to Lance. You know, while he's breaking up this fight, he forgot about the fact that Lance wasn't over this situation. And so what does Lance do? He comes out looking for a fight or looking for trouble, and he gets trouble. And, you know, because again, Trig had to step in. He knocks the gun out of his hand, but there was no one else with Trig to pick up the gun. So who picks up the gun?
Yeah. See, I'm glad you brought that conversation up, because I'm not even putting this on Lance. You said that Lance went out there and riled up the situation. Oh, girl, Cherry was like, get him.
Yeah, she did.
She was a cheerleader, but what I'm saying is, Trig broke it up in the house.
I know what you're saying.
And that's where it should have stayed. It should have stayed in the house. You know, Lance had to.
That's where he tried to keep it.
Well, no, because he had to go get his gun. He went out, you know, so while he's in the house, you know, he's still brewing. And then he goes.
Well, what I was saying was that Trig told Jamal, like, go outside.
Yeah.
So
no, that
he
was
sent
cool.
him outside. No, and everything was under control. Cool.
Yeah, but my saying, first of all, I would say, Jamal, we gotta go. Let's ride. Take him away from the scene, because.
But didn't Lance follow him outside?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Girl hyped him up.
Right.
Like, stay in the house.
Right, they're in the house. He getting all hyped up because of his sister. Then he grabs his gun and he goes back outside looking for more. And what does he do? Instead of wanting to fight, he pulls his gun.
Well, we had this conversation about toxic masculinity. If you want to see what toxic femininity looks like, look no further than Cherry.
Well, you know,
because if I recall correctly, she's the one that called Trig in the first place. Because Trig got the call from Monty and said, I gotta go see Cherry or whatever. He gets over there. Not only has she busted up Jamal's face and called her brother over there to make the situation worse, but as soon as Trig gets there, she's not even in any mood to try to reconcile anything. She's continuously adding fuel to the fire. So I'm like, why did you call for help in the first place? You don't look like you want help.
You know what?
She looks like she the abuser.
You know what? From now on, when I see a rowdy black sister like that, I'm gonna call her a Cherry. So she's gonna be, instead of a Karen, she's gonna be a Cherry. So
Lord.
No, I mean, and I say that to say, because she could have calmed her brother down in the house and said, okay.
She didn't need her brother there in the first place. Let's start
that's
that.
True. I mean, that's true. But she should have calmed him down and said, hey, no need for this gun. You know, it's over. Let's just calm down. Instead, she's a cheerleader and she wants to see somebody get hurt. Well, you did see somebody get hurt. Your brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his blood is really on her hands, because she could have just left good enough alone and stayed in the house after Jamal exited the scene.
Right.
So now she really has to live with the guilt of her brother dying on her behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I was thinking about what you said, Ron. It's not just money, because you can't throw money at those type of problems, right? So it's like, not only do they need help, they do need some kind of knowledge on how you deal with those situations, which is what you said. Don't just take him out the house. He needs to leave the scene, right? You know what I mean? You just need to, once you're there, you just need to leave. You need to exit the premises so that doesn't happen. But I don't know. It's like, I'm glad they're having this conversation, because these are the things we need to be thinking through. Like, what would you do in that situation? Because they say that those domestic situations are the most dangerous, just because of the emotions involved.
Right. And when I said money, I don't mean to throw money at the problem. I'm saying it takes money to build the infrastructure. I'm talking about building an infrastructure, like making sure you have paid counselors who can step in, because this is what we want. When we say defund the police, we're not necessarily, or at least most of us aren't talking about getting rid of the police. We're talking about bringing in other organizations to help, so that police aren't responding to these kinds of domestics. And if they are, you have a counselor with you, so that they can talk to these people, have some other recourse other than a man with a police officer with a gun. Because we all know if they're Black, 9 out of 10 times, the police are going to shoot them. Simple as that.
But Trig made a really good point too when he was talking to Otis and saying that the community is in support of this kind of policing, like by the community, when we're providing food and providing assistance. But when it comes down to people dying on our hands, I mean, like, the more that happens, the less trust and faith they lose in us being able to do this, and essentially the community will turn against each other.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's true too.
Correct. It takes manpower. You need manpower.
Yeah. But this also speaks to kind of a condition of people who are used to being taken care of, rather than people who are self-sufficient and accountable for their own behavior. Because at the same time, we have these outside forces, we're dealing with stuff internally as well, because he came downstairs with the gun that he pointed at somebody else, right? He's personally accountable for that, because had he not done that, he'd be alive. Exactly. You know what I mean? And so and so I guess we have to get out of that mentality that it's okay when people are providing for us. You provide so that we can stand up on our feet, not so you can continue to provide and just give us. We have to learn to be accountable and self-sufficient. We can do that, but I think we've been conditioned to think that somebody else is supposed to take care of us, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
But we've had hundreds of years of that conditioning, and you're not going to overcome that in one night. And it's going to take money, it's going to take resources, and they all have to come together in such a fashion that you have something in place when you want to step in and take over. You can't, this is a classic example of stepping in with no plan, with no resources. This is what you get. Yeah.
And thank God they didn't send Tracy over there to try to mediate, because she would have got busted up herself. So it's like, not only, it's like a two-person show, like really Trig and Tracy are in control of delegating who goes where. Mm-hmm. And if for some odd reason Tracy ended up being sent there, then the whole situation could have been much worse. That could have been more than one person that got shot or harmed. So it was like, it's just a tough situation all the way around. And for Otis to not have his feet on the ground there, but he's continuously sending them out in harm's way. It's like, yeah, it's easy to say, continue, keep this up, but you're not really out here seeing what we doing.
Right.
So I don't know how much longer this is gonna hold up.
I have a question. It's on a tangent. Does everybody get a cane when they get out?
I see Otis getting out the car with the cane, and I immediately thought about
snowfall,
right?
That's a good question. I think that well, I've never been shot, so I can't answer the question, but I guess, you get shot in the belly, you're not really stable. So I guess until you heal, you may want to lean on that cane. But I think the writers are just borrowing from one another. That's what it kind of looks like to me. They're just borrowing from one another.
Well, I have another question for y'all though, because I was thinking about the situation with Jamal, and I'm like, can he get off on like a self-defense kind of because he was defending his own life. I mean, he had a gun pointed, literally touching his forehead.
But when that gun was knocked out,
once he doesn't have the gun pointed at him anymore, he's not.
Yeah.
When you picked up that gun and elected to pull the trigger, whatever defense you thought you had is out the window.
Yeah, especially if somebody else is pinning the guy down or holding the guy down.
Yeah, exactly.
You had a chance to flee the scene.
You had a chance to walk away.
You didn't. You
Or
weren't.
could he justify it by saying I did it because I was trying to protect Trig also?
No.
Like, who's to say that?
No, because Trig had the advantage.
Lance couldn't have regained control of that gun and turned around and shot Trig for jumping.
But he didn't. See, the problem
He
is
also kicked the gun down the street.
Exactly. And the problem is the coulda, woulda,
Right.
shouldas. Okay, in fact, you know, Trig had him up against the wall. So Lance seemed to be subdued. He coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it didn't happen that way. And, you know, what happened was you picked up. Now, here's the other fold. He could have picked up the gun and just held it and said, don't take another step. Because if you take another step toward me, I'm going to have to use force. But he didn't do that. He just picked up the gun and shot. So it's not premeditated murder. So I don't see him getting first degree. I think it's more, and correct me if I'm wrong, LaWanda, I think it's more of a manslaughter situation. My manslaughter count because of the heat of the moment. You know, the fact that, well, it wasn't, he didn't.
The second degree.
Yeah, because he didn't.
It depends on the way it's written, what the actual charge said. But I think for me, anytime you're in a situation that gets de-escalated, he no longer has the gun in his hand and he is subdued. He's pinned against the wall. You have the option to pick the gun up and hold it, kick it down the street. You have the option to leave the scene, but that's not what he chose to do. So that's different. And given the nature of this country and how they charge Black folk, what do you think they're gonna do? You think
exactly
right?
No, yeah. I mean, and therein lies the problem. But I think murder one, and correct me if I'm wrong, murder one has to deal with premeditation. In other words, you had some time to think about.
Each state, I can't. I mean, maybe, but
you had some time. In other words, you had some time to think.
Maybe a little different.
Right. You had some time to think about what you were about to do. And I guess you can make an argument that by picking up the gun, he had some time to think about what he was going to do. So. Because
he picked it up. He didn't have it. That's it.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
Picked up a weapon. So that's, yeah.
Okay. I was trying to see if there was any hope for poor Jamal, but I guess
I don't want no part of this. I'm gonna leave.
Jamal is going to the bank. Sorry.
Well,
but the other part of it. But the other part of it, we're talking about American jurisprudence. But at the end of it, but the other part of it is we understand hood justice. Once you pull a gun, you have to use it.
That's what I was ready to say.
That is a beef that has continued and escalated, and we know what that means. That's on site. When I see you on site, it's on, right? So we understand that he picked that gun up and he ended that situation because that's what had to be done. But I don't think it's gonna go down like that in court.
No, I don't think so either, if he makes it to court.
Yeah, that's another
that's
thing.
A
He
good
may
point
not
about
make it
the
to
hood
court.
justice.
Because that hood justice is deep. So his sister, you know, what was her name?
Cherry. You just said you was going to call everybody Cherry.
Yeah, Cherry. I forgot all about it. Yeah, so Cherry, you know, I'm sure she's going to try to, you know, avenge her brother's death.
Well, Cherry better chill out. She is 100% on my get the hands list.
Oh yeah, she deserves to be on the list too.
Yeah.
You know what the other thing about that is, for a second, and I know they're not gonna do this, but I was like, are they gonna turn this house into an OnlyFans house? You know, because they I thought they was gonna say, well, if this is what you do and you want to take control, then this is your only skill. And I was like, I know they're not gonna go there, but I had a little moment where I thought they were gonna say, she was doing this.
Hey, LaWanda.
I was like, they cannot go there.
Trinity's house is the OnlyFans house.
Hey, look, brothels worked real well back in the day, so.
That's what it seemed like, because they were like, well, you know, they were feeding us, and then he was like, well, I saw Cherry and she was safe in the comforts of our own home. I was like, no, we can't do that. It's not going like that.
Well, I guess I did appreciate them, just to wrap this up, but to tie it together, Imani and Trig, and I guess Otis have come to the agreement that they're going to turn Trinity's house into the safe haven. And so they will refurbish the building. I'm like, why wasn't that the thought in the first place? I mean, they're already there. They built they haven't built a life, but they're in familiar space. So sending them to a shelter or someplace where they could be taken advantage of, or where they'll be micromanaged. It's not something a grown person wants. So why not, reconstruct the house, renovate it, and make it presentable for people to live there and be a safe haven. So I'm glad they went down that route. I wanted to talk a little bit about Cherry's, I think it's her sister, the little girl that Kevin was seeing. I wasn't sure if that was her sister or her daughter. I'm pretty sure she said it was her. If it's not Cherry's sister, it might be Jamal's sister, because she was talking to Kevin.
I think she's Jamal's
about
sister.
Her dad being an alcoholic and her brother being crazy. So I think it's Jamal's sister.
I think it's Jamal's sister.
Yeah. And so I like her. She's a really cute little girl, and her and Kevin seem to have the same interest in the video games. But poor Kevin got shot down again.
I was like, oh no.
That boy got to get out. His reservation at Heartbreak Hotel should have been up a long time ago. He needs to get up out of there, because that girl is going to hurt him. She's going to break him. She's going to hurt him all over again. Because she's just
very, very promising. I was thinking they would hit it off because they had so much in common, but
she's too independent for Kevin, and too strong. I mean, she's a strong sister. I just don't.
Okay, you gotta be careful with it's too independent, too strong. Careful
No. I don't mean that. I don't mean that in the vernacular. I'm saying just by her behavior. She didn't want him to walk her to the bus stop. She said, "I'm cool with that. It's that night. Most women would take that walk." But she was like, "No, you don't need to walk with me."
Well, she's already done called Kevin a square, basically. I think she's more worried about him than she is for her.
Yeah, so that's.
He said he's corny. She said he's corny. Jake called him corny. I was like, oh, come on now.
Yeah, and you could tell when he went over to the west side, he was like, okay, this ain't not what I'm used to.
Exactly.
And so I think she was like, well, if you walk me home, who gonna walk you home?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
real.
A good point. That's real. So she's a lot stronger than he is. So, hey, Kevin just needs to find, I guess, some like spirit.
Kevin need to find out what school he's going to and figure out the rest of the life.
There you
exactly. Go. But if we talking about Kevin and Jake, like going back to Jake, you see Jake doesn't care one bit about how Kevin feels, because he is sitting here, he inviting Gemma to spring fling. He going all out. Like this ain't just a thing for Jake. Jake is trying to be booed up with Gemma.
I'm gonna make a prediction. Yeah. Jake better watch his heart, because Gemma, I think Gemma.
Papa told him that.
That's what I
Papa said you need to watch out too.
Yeah.
But Papa also, I wonder if him playing both sides of the fence is gonna put him on the outs with Kevin, because Kevin is charged up and he feels betrayed. So by Papa giving advice on how he can romance Gemma, I think Kevin will see that as a betrayal too.
I said somebody. I was like, Papa should be like, I'm neutral. I can't help you with my man's girl. You figure that out.
Well, hey, I mean, but he's the love doctor, so he can't help him.
I can't help you
if
with
that was the case, Maisha would still be there.
That's what Jake was saying. Jake said, how you gonna try to give me advice and you just got dumped?
Well, I
was like, I can't help you with this unholy union. I can't do that.
I think what it should say to all men, no matter how well you think you got control over your lady, she's got the ultimate control, fellas. So don't think you got it all bagged up, because you don't. Look at Tiffany. I know she know what I'm talking about.
No, I agree. Listen, I agree. It's tripped me out how much people have just kind of jumped on board with this new relationship. Like even with Trig, and even though it was a cute moment when they were teaching him how to step, teaching Trig and Monty teaching Jake how to step, because I know Chicago is known for stepping. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like everybody's on board with him moving on to Gemma, doing Kevin wrong and going to the spring fling, and then Papa's giving advice. I'm just like, why isn't anybody saying to Jake, like, that's your boy. Like,
yeah,
that's
I think
I don't know. But what I will say about Papa's advice, he was spot on about when he was talking about a woman's love language and not just loving her, but loving her in the way she wants to be loved.
I was giving snaps when he said it. I was like, come on, Papa.
That's why he's love doctor. That's why he's a love doctor, because he knows what to say. But I think everybody else is, has kind of come to the moveon.com kind of thing, Look, it's done, it's over, move on. There's nothing he can do about it. He's young. I don't think it's a situation that he needs to put too much time in. I mean, it's just something that he has to move on, because if he doesn't, I don't know where Kevin's going.
I'm perfectly fine with Kevin and Jake not being friends, because it seems like from the beginning their friendship was so forced. Like Papa was the only one that was really holding them together, and they have always butted heads. And it seems like Jake really has a level of disrespect towards Kevin, and Kevin, it seems like he tolerates it for the sake of the friendship, like really just trying to be I guess the word, like, just not trying to cause a problem. And really, but when things did flare up, I think Kevin is seeing more now, like, especially as you grow up and people that you are friends with by circumstance, right? Because you went to the same school. Now you grow up and you realize we really don't have all that much in common anymore. Why am I still forcing this? Not just, I don't want to be friends with you just because of the time. I've known you since X amount of years. That's the only thing that's really holding us together. No, I think Kevin is starting to mature and see, like, this really ain't my friend. So I could see things being permanently severed between them. I don't know if Papa got enough love in him to bring them together at this point.
And Jake said something last week too, when he said, when Kevin said, I always had your back. And then Jake said, you haven't always been loyal. So I was like, So I said, so apparently he's harboring something. And I guess it was referring to the situation with the, the police situation. I'm assuming that's what that was about, but he made that, that comment. So I said, he's harboring something.
Well, Jake really needs to understand that him and Kevin don't come from the same walk of life. So the kind of response that he might have wanted from Kevin is not a response that Kevin could give him. Kevin was thinking about self-preservation. I don't want to get shot. I don't want to end up in jail. Like, I can't lash out and act out the way you want me to just because.
I agree with you with the relationship from the start is kind of rocky, because they're on two different planets, and it's not to say that it can't work, and I think it could work, but you understand there have to be a sense of mutual understanding between the two. Jake understanding where Kevin is coming from, and Kevin likewise has already accepted where Jake is coming from. I think Jake needs to do the same thing. Kevin's not cut out like you are.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of my own friend group. Like, I know who's down to ride. I know who wants scrap, and I also know who ain't about that life. So you gotta set your expectations with your friends. I already know who is gonna be running the opposite direction if something go down.
Yeah.
Not to say that they not your friend and they don't care about you, but
that's just not their
friends.
Right. That's just not them. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but if you're gonna go the opposite way when I need you, you aren't my friend and you don't care about me. Because
well, not necessarily say abandon you, but they might be running to call the cops or something.
Exactly, as opposed to wrecking,
Use your cell phone. Don't run away. Just use your cell phone, call the cops. Everybody got cell phones.
Either way, they're not getting their hands dirty, is what she's saying.
That's it. Exactly.
So the last point I wanted to bring up about this episode was Emmett and Tiff at this sex party. So it seems like it might have actually brought them a little bit closer to see kind of like these alternative lifestyles and seeing what kind of kinks and things that people are into. And even though they have the freedom to explore with other people, they both kind of turned down advances from other people. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, well, this could really bring them together. And especially when the host of the party was kind of talking about how she's a married woman, but her and her husband have like this agreement where you play together, you stay together. So I don't know if that's what Tiffany and Emmett will end up doing, but I guess if it'll help them come closer, I mean, all I can say is that Emmett didn't look like he was shying away from it.
Okay.
Well, he looked very uncomfortable at first.
But here's the thing. You put a 6-year-old in a candy shop. And, with that sexual addiction that Emmett has, it is too soon to put that boy in a situation like that.
Do we know that Emmett has a sexual addiction?
I don't know if it's addiction.
I don't think he has a sexual addiction. I mean, he has a lot of kids. But that doesn't mean he has a sexual addiction.
The man has screwed everybody that's come in front of him. So
he's just immature. I think that comes with.
That's all that is.
Yeah,
he's just immature.
I know
because they said that he's only like 21.
Well, I know a lot of immature people that are going around screwing everybody. But I mean, if you put a woman in front of Emmett, at least it's the way it used to be.
It used to be.
It used to be. And that's why I say this is dangerous, because now, it's seemingly before this episode, Emmett was trying to kind of, rein in Tiffany and say, hey, let's get back and do this thing right. Now that Tiffany has this, she's engaged in this sex party thing, and to be honest, Tiffany looked a whole lot more comfortable in that place than Emmett did.
Well, she was there in a work capacity.
Yeah, but she was also there, but she was enjoying her work. And so,
But she was talking about using the toys, and she was talking about using the toys with Emmett. She wasn't talking about with other people. So I'm just saying, they talking about them enjoying those things together.
Yeah, but when girlfriend and her husband sat on that couch with Emmett and Tiffany, and they were explaining how things are, because Tiffany is curious. She asked the question, how do you manage 5 years and you got all this going on? And basically, like she said, it's about communication with your husband. So it seems like Tiffany might have some idea that she and Emmett can actually live that kind of lifestyle. I don't know
if they want that.
I don't know.
I don't think
Emmett wants that, but I'm telling you, Tiffany is showing me something that, it's like you let that lion out of the cage and God knows where it ends up.
I think that it looked more so like the being around all of that activity and seeing what other people were doing was something that they were using to say, like, not necessarily go off and say, I want to try this with a bunch of other people, but let's try this with each other. And so that's why I was like, they're less looking to the outside and more looking into their own situation and saying, let's bring this into the bedroom and let's try this.
Yeah,
and I was like, that could be something that, like, that freshness stuff, getting out of your comfort zone and trying something that you've never done before can invigorate a relationship and make it feel brand new again.
Except that most partners most couples that I know that tried that swing thing, they're now divorced.
Well, I'm not saying bring other people in.
She's not saying bring other people in. There's other things like
but if you're going to get in party, if you're going to get into that swing situation, even going to those clubs, look, we've seen enough mistakes and how people can trip into some bad habits on the show. And I'm just simply saying, with Emmett being Emmett, do you want him around that? That's all I'm saying. Are you comfortable around Emmett being around that?
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to have some very strong communication to lay out the lines on that one.
Yeah, we'll see. My prediction is it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
Well, who knows? I just thought that was an interesting way for them to come closer as a couple.
I think ultimately they're going to end up coming back together. They're going to decide after their little experimentation or whatever that this ain't what they want. They don't want to be with other people. And I think they're ultimately going to end up just being together.
Because ultimately they do want each other, but they are so hurt by what the other has done that they're playing tit for tat a little bit. Like, oh, you slept with Dante, or you slept with Dom and you did this, and well, I'm going to do that. So it's like a reactionary thing rather than going and saying, like, okay, what's done is done. We both really know we don't want this lifestyle. So let's just nip it in the bud and try to work on what we really want. So overall, I enjoyed this episode. It had a lot going on, a lot of conversations that I felt were needed, especially around the policing situation and even old girl that really just made it worse, like that toxicness that she was bringing out, because a lot of times women are not seen as the abuser, and in this case she absolutely was.
Yeah.
So very we have a lot to work with for the rest of the season, because this is episode 7. So if we're going to episode 10, we got 3 left, and I'm thinking, where are we going to end at the end of this? Where are they going to leave us by the end of the season? I really can't call it right now. I'm trying to figure out like what's going to be the thing that carries us on into a season 5. You guys got any thoughts on that?
I don't know about if I can see as far as season 5 just yet, but just the previews from next episode, I saw some things that look like that could be positive, like with the relationships. And I was like, a lot of times we talked about how we thought that the relationships didn't look positive, or men looking a certain way or whatever. But I saw that looks like Keisha's going on a date with the young man next week. Looks like that's gonna be cool. Looks like Papa gonna be trying to get back with Maisha. We saw Kevin trying to have a conversation with Gemma, asking if she still loved him, because Gemma looked like she was a little jealous when she saw Kevin dancing with another girl. So I don't know. It looked like there might be some unity next week with some couples and everything. So might be some positive vibes.
Yeah, perhaps. I sense that Dre and Nina, they far off from the positive
except for them. Except for them. Nina blew it.
Yeah. I'm still wondering if Jada is going to overcome her situation too, because we haven't really seen much of an update on her status, since her chemo and stuff. I mean, we seen her chop all her hair off this week. So, I mean, I know that it's difficult for her, and she struggled with that, because a lot of times for Black women, our hair is part of our identity. So when you shave it all off, it's like you lost a piece of yourself.
I thought that was brave. I thought that was very brave of her, though, and she. So and to be honest, I think that's the first step to recovery, realizing your situation and living up to it. She realized she was losing her hair anyway, and she's going to have several chemo treatments. And she cut her hair off, and she went out, and she accepted her reality. So I think that's the first step to any kind of treatment.
Yeah, well, she's still keeping herself together. I notice when she goes out in public, she's always, at least trying to be presentable and pull herself together, or wear her hair wraps and stuff like that. So she is still out here making sure she looks presentable and doesn't look sickly, at least like on the surface. So I'm excited about the remaining episodes. Do you guys have any other predictions before we close out?
The comment with Duda to Trig, was that a threat? I watched the episode late, and my son saw it first, and he read it as a threat. He was like, Duda threatened Trig, and I said, what? About what? When I watched it, I'm not sure I read it as a threat.
Well, in terms of continuing to police the community?
At the end, the very last thing that he was saying to Trig, like,
I don't know if I picked up on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was. That's what. So I was looking for it, because my son said that to me when he saw it, said that, and I was like, what? Why? And then when I saw it, I was like, I don't know that it was a real threat.
It could also be perceived that way because of the conversation they had very early on in the episode, where he was Trig was talking to Otis about having his hands, on the political side and in the streets. And he was talking about, you need to maybe cut the street life off. And Otis was like, no, we're going to keep that rolling. And so the fact that Otis is still feeling like he needs to be involved in that manner, kind of like it could be intimidating. And Trig saying, like, the way he asked Otis, it was more like, I'm not saying I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna ask you first. He was like, this is taking a toll on me. Can we, work something out? Can we figure out a better solution? And it seemed like he was asking for permission to do something different versus saying, I'm not doing this no more. So he might feel obligated or even threatened by Otis, by what might happen if he stops doing what Otis wants him to do. So I mean, if that's what your son meant by that, maybe it could be seen that way.
I'm gonna have to ask him.
Yeah.
I didn't see what you saw, son.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed this episode. Like I said, thanks to all the viewers for watching. Thank you for your continued support and joining us here. Drop down in the comments and let us know what you thought about this episode. Please keep it cute in the comments, because
I was gonna say the same thing.
I mean, the vast majority of y'all are excellent. We love y'all. Y'all always come with like some very deep perspective. Y'all are always on point, offering different views and a lot of time giving like very detailed responses that offer a perspective that I didn't even consider, or any of us. And so you give us a bit better input to go off of, and we appreciate that. But other people in the comments,
out of pocket,
keep it cute
and disrespectful.
It's no need for that. Like, we are here just to enjoy each other and have fun and to converse. And if you disagree with something, there's no need to ever be disrespectful to anybody, especially when they come to you in a light of respect. So
exactly.
And if
that's
you
what
don't
I'm
like,
saying. It's just
and if you don't like the show, don't watch it.
kind of simple. Yeah, I mean, you could
And that's real. That's real. Because I'm like, as much as we want to have you, but we definitely want positive energy.
Right.
And it's okay to give us constructive criticism. We all read the comments. Right. But coming out your face crazy will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
You know, my position is block them, because we don't need that energy. It makes me think, what are you doing all day? Like, who?
Yeah, like, really.
So yeah, we don't want that. We gonna sage this whole screen here. We gonna sage the comments. So keep it cute, or you will get put on mute. We always like to say that. So thank you guys so much for your support. Please also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Spot Real Talk. We love hearing your perspectives there as well. And just, continue to support us. We love you guys, and we'll be moving on to other shows as well after The Shy is done. So stick with us, because we got a lot of other things up our sleeve. Any last words?
You've said
it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, me
Thank
too.
you.
Okay. Well, on that note, we are going to call it a night. You guys have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Future, all the plans you made in your heart grew just to die. And now your damaged goods, damaged should have never been. Thought you were bulletproof, look at you, what happened? Did she hurt you?